Hello, this is Dylan Miller on Daily Dose of Dylan, Google Podcast, Spotify, Spreaker, or iHeartRadio. This is Dylan Miller on Daily Dose of Dylan. We have a lot of good stuff today, actually. I should be on all 5 weeks this week, and then I'm going to have to take off again. But I'm actually going to unpack a lot of great stuff today. I'm going to do a Where Did I Go Wrong segment pretty much right off the bat. But I think it's important to note that I was right about the finals. Warriors 6. Got that right. But I'm actually going to open up. I'm going to do my Where Did I Go Wrong segment in a second. But first, I gotta talk about possibly the dumbest thing I heard Pete Carroll say today. He said the Seahawks quarterback situation is in good shape. No, it's not. It's not. You have Geno Smith, who at his best was just a bottom tier quarterback for the Jets, and Drew Lock, who was mediocre at best for the Broncos. It doesn't get to win you Super Bowls. He has to adjust. I've said this for a while now. He has to adjust to the new shape of the league. You know, it's not all defense anymore, you know? And the Seahawks have a pretty good defense, but they have zero offense. They have DK Metcalf, who's a pretty talented receiver, but that's about it. He just has to... He can't say he's in a good position quarterback-wise when he has those two guys running the show. Like, if you actually think you're going to win a Super Bowl with either of those guys leading your offense, you're sorely mistaken. Alright. So now, we're going to do Where Did I Go Wrong segment. First, gotta get some music on. As always. Come on. Alright. Give me 1 second. There we go. Alright. So, firstly, Harden is expected to re-sign with the Sixers. I didn't think they'd do that. Like, I didn't think the Sixers would re-sign Harden, really. I mean, of course, Harden would go there because, it's not a bad place to be in his spot, but I just don't think he's good for a rising team like the Sixers. They got Embiid, who I think has reached his peak. And, but they also have a few other talented players as well. Like Maxey. But I just don't think Harden makes players better in general. There's a reason he's been on multiple teams in the last few years. I mean, he was best with the Rockets. I think that's just, the obvious way of putting it. After that, it just, he was good. He was good with the Nets for a good, 2 months, and then got injured, and, I just don't think he's really good for a franchise in the long run. Because he's only getting older. He's eventually going to age out. He's never been good in the playoffs to begin with. Now he's just going to add age into that. It's not a good mix, I just don't think it's a good fit. I don't know why they'd resign him, but it's their decision. So Jaylen Brown, I thought was I thought he was a number 2 guy at best, maybe a number 3. But in the finals, I think he would have been Finals MVP. If had the Celtics won, I don't think Tatum would have won it. I think it would have been Brown, just because he led the Celtics in scoring in the finals, and he went 23-7. He was pretty much, he was their biggest bright spot in the wins and the only bright spot in their losses. I think that's the best way to put it. He was great in the finals. He was the one. He was the first option. Other than game 2, where he shot 5 for 17, he was pretty productive throughout the series. 34 points in the last game. Gave it all he had. Just wasn't enough. Alright. And hold on. The final one, the Mavs. I thought they could use a defender because that's just not what Luka does. He's just not good at it. And you can't really blame him too much for that. It's a great offensive player, but if the Mavs want to win, they're gonna need a good defensive number 2. They really didn't go for that. They went for Christian Wood, who I like. I think Christian Wood's a good player. I do. But it just doesn't... I just don't think it's the best fit, really. He's a great role player. If he gets on your team as a role player, he's damn good. He averaged 18 points, 10 boards last year, 50% from the field, 39% from 3. Great shooter, but not really a defender. The defender that you need as the Mavericks. I just don't think it was the best move for them. I don't know. But I don't know. I really just... Some of the decisions that I'm wrong about, I really always think I'm right about them, even the Harden decision, even though I was wrong about it, I don't think I was technically wrong, because I think it would have been smarter to let him go. But, I'll see. I can't predict the future, so... I don't know. Maybe Harden turns out to be amazing. I don't know. It's just tough for me to buy into that. Really, it's tough for me to buy into Christian Wood going to the Mavericks. But then again, for a while last year, I was wrong about the Nets. I thought combining the 3 of the best scorers in the game would have been a bad idea, but it worked for a while. And they kind of burned out in the playoffs. Alright, so, Charles Barkley said that KD has to win a ring as the quote-unquote bus driver, or a number 1 as the, the first option on the team. The leader of the team, I think, really. Because you could say he was the first option on Golden State, but I think the leadership role kind of went to Steph Curry. I think that was just... I think it was more Curry's job. I don't know. But what's crazy? It's the players that get... It's really just... The basketball players get the most scrutiny for leaving. I don't think that's really a debate. Because Randy Moss just went off and played with Brady. And they didn't get much heat. And, especially in baseball, they get no heat if they leave. Freeman went to the Dodgers that were already stacked. Didn't get much hate for it. Garrett Cole went to the Yankees, and Not much hate for it, you know? But, you know, KD, he should be expected to win a championship. Considering the tier he's in, as a top, 15 player in the league, not in the league, all-time top 15 player. The tier he's in, he should be expected to win a championship without Curry, or Clay, or Draymond, or any. Well, actually, everyone needs help. Just not that much help. Everyone has at least one or two superstars next to them. You can't name me a star that hasn't done that. I don't want to restate what everyone said, like, oh, Jordan had Pippen, LeBron had Wade and Kyrie, Kareem had Magic, Magic had Kareem. Kobe had Shaq and Pau Gasol later on. Bird had Kevin McHale and Robert Parrish. Trying to think of other, Duncan, Parker, Ginobili, and Duncan worked very well together. It was a big three. It's not easy to win without help. I'm not saying I expect him to do that, but if he can just be the number one option on a team and win a championship, his legacy, he would actually get the treatment Steph Curry is getting right now, where people are debating whether or not he's in the top 10 now. But I put him in my tier 3 of players, which is normally the 11 to 25, I'd say. 11 to 25, I'd say, is the range. Tier 1 is 1 to 5. Tier 2 is 6 to 10. I think Curry, it would be around 11 to 12. 11 or 12. I like to have Hakeem Olajuwon as my number 11, because I think if anyone in the NBA history has done it without help, I think Hakeem Olajuwon is the guy that has. That's the argument I would make. If I ever had to argue that anyone's done it without help, it would be Hakeem Olajuwon. He'd be the example I use. So I don't really like to put him at 11, but Curry, you can make a case for Curry to be ahead of him. Probably have Shaq at number 10. My tier 2, not in order, would probably include Duncan, Kobe, Bird, Bill Russell obviously deserves some credit. 11 championships, and Shaq. Then obviously my tier 1 would have, Wilt, Magic, Kareem, LeBron, Jordan, those guys. But I've always put Curry ahead of KD because I feel, I don't know, it's just I honestly have him ahead of, I've had him ahead of KD for a while because, he's probably the most influential player. He completely changed the game. He was probably the only other player that I think had more influence on the game was Michael Jordan. And he made the game worldwide, Steph completely changed the popularity of the three-point line and how, I don't know. I'm getting off topic here. I do think KD should be expected to win a ring because it's never been his talent that's been questioned. It's been his leadership. And I think the fact that he hasn't won a ring as a definitive one does speak volumes. So I think until, and honestly, with KD, considering what he's been able to do, scoring titles he's won, and he's arguably the greatest scorer of all time. I think if he were to win a ring as the guy, what would it be, his third ring? He would probably... I mean, he'd probably get in my top 10, honestly. Maybe over Steph, I'm not really sure. Again, I still have to think about whether or not I even consider Steph top 10. Because I don't think I do yet. But, you know, I don't know. You know, it's like, because I always hated KD because I'm a Cavs fan, so KD took, in my mind, KD took 2 championships away from us by joining Golden State, but, you know, I mean, honestly, I feel no sympathy for him because he was dumb enough to choose Kyrie over Steph. You know, non-problematic over incredibly problematic. Or no, problematic over non-problematic. Like, I just think that was... I don't know. I've never thought that was a good decision. But, you know, I mean, if he were to win a championship, I would definitely applaud him. I wouldn't be, you know, all on social media like, oh, you know, he can't win without help or anything stupid like that, you know. Because I think the NBA stars that win rings with help, you know, I think they really deserve more credit because they were the leader of that team. And if you were to take them off that team, the help they had wouldn't matter because they wouldn't have their best player that carried them throughout the whole thing. Which segues into my next topic. Grant Hill said that he said Jordan's the GOAT, but he thinks LeBron deserves more respect. And unfortunately for LeBron, he really became a... I don't know what to... He really achieved, like, legendary or great status as social media emerged, you know? Which, you know, obviously, social media will always find a way to hate on anything. You know, there's always going to be someone in the comments saying something negative, you know? You're not going to stop that. But that's the unfortunate thing about LeBron. Is, you know... And about a lot of celebrities is one person says something and some people agree with it, and before you know it, it's a whole belief. And what Grant Hill said, actually, I wish I could play the clip, but what he said was, like, unfortunately, with the GOAT debate, which social media brought about, thank you very much, with the GOAT debate, to prove that one guy is better, you have to put down the other. So, like, if you were to prove MJ was better, got to put down LeBron. Or if you were to prove LeBron is better, you'd have to put down MJ. Which leads to an unnecessary amount of disrespect towards the greatest players to ever play the game. You know, but all these guys, you know, all these guys in today's game that are getting, you know, trashed on by social media deserve more respect. Even Kevin Durant, who I literally just kind of ripped on, you know, for making a dumb decision, he deserves more respect too. You know, he is one of the best basketball players to ever play. You know, and Curry gets a lot of hate too. It's not realized either. But, you know, all of them deserve more respect than they get. Alright, let's move on. So, the Browns are willing to pay half of Mayfield's salary in order to facilitate a trade. Oh boy. You see, this is just what bad organizations do. They just can't get it right, you know? Can't get the QB right. They are always at the top of the draft. They had like one season in the spotlight where we were like, oh, alright. Cleveland, they look good. No, great coach, Kevin Stefanski. Coach of the year, right? Mayfield, looks like he finally figured it out. Great receiving core. They got all this. It's all looking good. Wasn't. Now, granted, Mayfield had a lot of injuries this year. But, it's just... I don't get why they picked up Watson when he has 24 civil lawsuits and could possibly not be... By the way, he took all of last year without playing. So, he hasn't played an actual game of football in a year. And he could miss another year. And you already signed a contract, so you gotta play him the year after that, too. So, after missing 2 years, you have to, just pray that Deshaun Watson is the quarterback he used to be. It's just like that. That's a big risk that you really shouldn't have taken. And now you gave Mayfield the leverage in this trade talk because you paid Watson. You paid all of Watson's salary in spite of him having all those lawsuits and the risk of him not playing. So, you'd be viewed as a hypocrite if you didn't pay all of Mayfield's salary when he doesn't have all those allegations against him. And he's going to play next year. They just didn't play that right at all. They just gave Mayfield all the leverage in the trade-in line. And I'm actually more sympathetic for Mayfield right now, which I never thought I'd say. Because, I don't know, it's just... I just can't understand why the Browns can never get it right. It's just... I really had hope. I had hope last year that the Browns figure it out. They couldn't. Alright, so big markets are dominating baseball right now. The Mets and the Yankees and the Dodgers. I think all three of them have the best record in baseball right now. Gotta recheck that, though, because I think the Brewers were putting up quite the fight. So, yeah, Yankees got the best. So it's Yankees, Mets, and Astros, actually. Then the Dodgers. But anyway, it seems like large markets are really dominating baseball right now. And that's the difference between the MLB and the NBA. In the NBA right now, small markets are dominating. Mostly. Because, this year, I think if Chris Middleton didn't get hurt, Milwaukee goes to the finals. And I think Memphis, the Grizzlies, could be going to the Western Conference Finals next year. I'm dead serious. I think they're a lot like Golden State, honestly, the Grizzlies, in a way. They got the phenom, Ja Morant. He is a different kind of phenom than Steph. He's more athletic and exciting. While Steph was just new. We just never saw someone who can shoot like that. So, it's just, they both have that phenom, and they got a bunch of quiet, players around him that contribute well. They could very much be the next Warriors in the making, if they play it right. But, smaller markets control the NBA right now, as it's the same as large markets control baseball. But why the NFL isn't controlled by either market. You know why? It's because they have a hard salary cap, which baseball doesn't have. And they don't have ridiculously long contracts, which baseball has. You know, you got people going to the Yankees or Dodgers for like 10 years. You know, in that case, all these great players are going to that large market for basically their entire career. And, you know, that just leads to many years of dominance for larger markets. You know? It's just the NFL, they got a hard salary cap. You know, so it just makes it more competitive. You know, and that's why I think the NFL is the best sport to watch right now over baseball and basketball, because it's hard to predict. I mean, of course you got your front runners, you know, but I can tell you right now, no one predicted the Bengals would make it to the big game last year. Very few even predicted the Rams would make it. I mean, some did. Some said the Rams would go all the way, but, you know, it was, no one predicted that exact matchup. And I think very few predicted how the playoffs would roll out, you know? It's just, I like how the NFL is, you know, I think they just know how to keep it competitive. You know, I thought the NBA was the best run a few years ago. And, you know, that was just because they handled COVID the right way. You know? Adam Silver, he did a great job. And I know the COVID cases, unfortunately, he can't stop. You know, he can't make the league more competitive. You know, because the NBA is kind of a, I don't know. You know, I just think the NFL is the best to watch. Just the most competitive, least predictable, which is always fun. Sorry if I'm a bit rusty today. Actually, you know, I've had a bit of a cold for the last few days. In case you can't realize, I'm congested. And, obviously, I've been on and off podcasts, so I haven't really got my own flow going back again. So, sorry in advance if I ramble on again about topics this episode. So, Kyrie's future is unclear in Brooklyn. Big surprise. You know, and I heard the Lakers could pursue him. And some people think it's a good idea. I don't know if it is for the Lakers. For Kyrie, it would be great, you know, and it would be kind of a fair trade for the Nets, because in the East, you got a lot of size. You got Adebayo, Embiid, Giannis. You know, trading for AD could work. Now, the Lakers they could use a shooter or a point guard, but I don't know if Kyrie is that point guard for them. You know, it's just, he's too... The last time he was any good for a team, it was in Cleveland. Boston tried being a leader. First year, he hurt. You know, he actually looked good his first year. You know, they started off 16-2. So, you know, they got off to a really good start. You know, then Kyrie got injured. He wasn't there for the rest of the year, which is fine. Not really on him. Injuries are never planned, and they're unfortunate. But year after that, we saw the true value of Kyrie's leadership, which was nothing. He created an even more toxic environment in Boston, and he wound up leaving for the Nets, where he has barely played any games. He got injured his first year. Then again, the first year was kind of a mess, you know. All the COVID cases and everything. And then the next year, which was last year, he was a number 3. And again, second round exits. This year, hardly played. So, haha. I gotta see, how many games did Kyrie play this year? This is like, this has to be embarrassing or something. An embarrassing amount. He's just not a reliable player, I feel like. Like, no matter where he is, number 3 or number 2, and sure as hell he is number 1. You know. Okay, he played 29 games this year. You know, he's a good scorer and a good shooter. You know, no one's denying that, but it's like, he played 29 games in an 82-game season. Like, seriously, what do you expect? How much do you expect the Lakers to be able to do with that? Because think about it. They're probably going to get rid of Westbrook's contract soon. I mean, that contract is just being passed around the league right now. So they're going to be left like without a starting point guard if they trade for Kyrie. Sure, they're going to have like 30 games where they got a great point guard, and they'll probably win a good amount of games with that. But I mean, how can anyone trust him at a starting point guard position? Like, because there's going to be like over 50 games where they don't even have a point guard, which can really screw a team up. They can't have LeBron playing both point guard and small forward. You know, it's like, I don't know. I just don't think it would be a good move for the Lakers, really. Like, if they really wanted to win, they wouldn't do this. Alright, Bart Scott said it was more challenging to face Peyton Manning than Tom Brady. Now I'm going to break down. I'm just going to tell you what you get, you know, when you face the challenges you face when you go against Brady or Manning. With Brady, you can guarantee if you give him the chance, he'll always deliver, he'll always come back, he'll always win. With Peyton made the game intellectual and academic. You know? Like, he would outsmart you very easily. You know, he can read defenses very well. He's a pretty smart guy, man. The difference is Tom really is, he's the most productive and accomplished. Like, I think Aaron Rodgers is the most talented, which does not mean the best ever. Tom Brady's the best ever. There's no denying that. Tom Brady's the best ever. I think Rodgers is the most talented. I think Peyton Manning is the smartest. Now, to reassure you guys, if I were to do a top 10 quarterbacks list, I don't think Rodgers would crack the top 10. So, just want to start off by saying that so you don't think I'm a biased Packers fan. Do not think he's a top 10 quarterback ever, but I do think he is the most talented ever. Alright, finally, before I end today's podcast, Russell Wilson, finally spoke about joining the Broncos. He said, "I wanted to go to a city and I knows how to win." And they are a great organization, and he should be expected to win there. Brady. It's very similar to Brady and the Bucks. Before Brady came there, Tampa, they looked like a mess, but then Brady got there and it was like, oh, whoa, wait a minute, they're actually stacked. They had all these receivers, great defense, all of a sudden we knew how stacked they were. Maybe this happens with the Broncos. They do have a great defense, some receivers. They did, however, get a new coach recently, which could be tough to adjust to, but we'll see how it works out. Alright, that's it for today. I think I'll be back tomorrow. Everything goes according to plan. If not, I will let you know. But either way, this is Dylan Miller. I did the Dylan. Google Podcast, Spotify, Spreaker, or iHeartRadio. This is Dylan Miller. I did the Dylan. I'll see you tomorrow.